the 2024 elections around the corner, political parties are stepping up their campaigns. This is for this much anticipated poll in 2024. Now, power in KwaZulu-Natal has changed hands quite often between Inkatha Freedom Party and the ANC. This election battle, it continues to dominate provincial politics. The new IFP leader, Velenkosini Hlabisa, has vowed to end the ANC's dominance in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Well, he joins me now to discuss the party's plans, exactly how they are going to beat the African National Congress. But Hlabisa, let me thank you very much for your time. Not often that you make the trip, but you're here. Let's begin with when you joined this party as a young person. You were just 14 years old, if my history is correct. You were 14 years old and you joined the youth brigade of the IFP. What were your aspirations as a young person joining this party?
Thank you very much, Xoli. I also want to greet the viewers of this program, the people of South Africa. I joined the IFP in 1978 at my youngest age. At that time, all that we knew about politics is what we heard from Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Because you know, Xoli, at that time, the access to newspapers, radios or television was foreign to us as we were in the rural areas, no access in any way to libraries or wherever that you can get a newspaper. So now we relied heavily on Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi because he was the only voice within the country that proclaimed that the political prisoners must be released. The political parties that were banned in South Africa must be unbanned. So now what we became very clear is that we were a black society where we were living, and it was clear that in the areas where we were living, there was no electricity, there was no water. But if you happen to go to town or into an urban area where other races were living, you could easily see that life is different amongst these people living in schools. So we became aware something is wrong in our society, and we answered to the call that it is people of South Africa who must stand up and fight for the freedom of our country.
And so when you joined, again, I'm coming back to this word, aspiration. Your parents at that time must have been obviously worried. Why is our child joining a political party? But I'm quite interested to know what their thoughts were around the IFP, because it wasn't the only party in existence. There was also the ANC.
Especially my father was very concerned because he knew the danger of getting involved in politics at that time. And at that time, Xoli, all other political parties were not active within the country because they were all banned. And the IFP managed to exist because it used a name which talk about culture. The National Cultural Liberation Movement. So now it did not promote politics as much per se, but it spoke more of culture. And culture is a way of life,
yes,
which is politics at the end of the day, because Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was running away from being banned like ANC, PAC, AZAPO, and all other political parties. But he stood up clearly that unban political parties, release people who are in prison. Then coming to the question of what was your aspirations. You know, at a younger age, you don't dream much, but all that you become aware of is that something is not correct here. Something is wrong. The society in which we live is not similar to all people of different races. Now, the call was, stand up, people of South Africa, stand up, young people. And we became aware of the 1976 riots in Soweto, where it was younger people of my age who were involved in fighting against the imposition of the apartheid education, which is Afrikaans predominantly. Now, it became clear that we all have to heed to the call that we must stand up and fight for the freedom of our country. Then as I grew, I became more aware and more aware of many things that are not right in our country, to an extent where one had a feeling that it is our responsibility to get politics right for our country. But there were no big aspirations like I want to be a leader or I want to be something else. The drive, let us get politics right in our country, because we can see in other schools, other races, having better schools than where we are. So this needs to be corrected. That was a driving force in all the years I have been in politics.
At some point, I mentioned during the start of the show that it almost seems like a distant memory that the IFP was actually number 2 after the ANC since the general elections of 1994. What, in your view, contributed to the decline, electoral decline of the IFP?
It could be a number of reasons, Xoli. You know, when the IFP was within the country for a longer time, and the people of South Africa, the political party they were more exposed to was the IFP. No wonder many leaders of the ANC today, most of them were IFP members. Some, they accept to say...
You sure about that?
I'm sure. I'm sure. There are so many. And they know themselves that they were IFP members during their schooling age. And of course, the only political party that raised the ANC flag, it was the IFP. Now, people who liked ANC, which was in exile, they joined the IFP. There are so many. I don't want to embarrass their names, but people
Why would it be an embarrassment?
No. Some of them are not happy to be told or to be reminded that, remember, you were an IFP member, and then you crossed to join the ANC, which we have no problem as an IFP leader for what they did when they crossed to join the ANC, but they are not brave enough to admit openly. Some of them were even supported by the erstwhile government, which was led by the IFP, to get educated, and some of them are very keen to come forward and say, yes, I'm a beneficiary of the IFP-led government as I am qualified in this area. But let me come to the question that you actually wanted to know.
But before we get there, because now you have struck up a very interesting point. Why do you think those leaders are not brave enough, as you say, to come out and say, we were once members of the IFP? What is this blemish that they don't want association or to be associated with?
It is the propaganda which the ANC is running away to correct today. You know, senior leaders of the ANC, Madiba, Thabo Mbeki, even the president of the country, they know that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was deployed by ANC to go and become the prime minister of the erstwhile KwaZulu government, because the strategy was block apartheid from within. A propaganda has been said, IFP is part of apartheid, and many people are afraid to be known they were part of the IFP because of that propaganda. But they know today that that was a propaganda because it has been accepted in many platforms that it is not true that IFP was part of apartheid, but it is the ANC, Oliver Tambo and Inkosi Albert Lthuli, who mandated Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi to go, even to form the IFP. The ANC endorsed in London through Oliver Tambo that because we are not within the country, do establish that organization which will promote the interests of the people of South Africa. That is why the IFP is the first political party as a national cultural liberation movement that raised the three colors of the ANC flag. We all did not know Mandela, who were in prison, all political prisoners. But it was Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi who told us about these people.
At what point, though, Mr. Hlabisa, at what point does the IFP see the ANC as an enemy, and you have seen the massacres that have taken place pre-1994, even after 1994? Why would that have been allowed if Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was a deployee of the ANC to go and destabilize the apartheid government?
Yeah, that is the main issue, Xoli, which must be rectified by the ANC leaders. Because there is an ongoing discussion between IFP and the ANC, where we say we must reconcile the past and set the record straight. What happened during the 90s, where many people died, it was a result of propaganda by the ANC. This propaganda was eventually led to the confrontation between the two political parties. But from where we stand today as the IFP, we are not enemies to the ANC.
You may not be enemies today, Mr. Hlabisa. Someone listening.
Yeah, I'm going to that part.
And has the correct history.
Yes, I'm going to that part.
And has the correct history. We're going to go there in a moment. But I've got to take you on this one. Someone sitting out there is saying, Mr. Hlabisa is revising history here because the IFP was found to have been funded by the apartheid government. This was in the TRC. So, how do you back up those claims that it's propaganda that the IFP was once propped up by the apartheid government?
Xoli, when people are fighting, because the truth of the matter, the war, violence occurred between the ANC and the IFP. The ANC had its own ways of acquiring weapons to kill IFP members. So whoever might have seen the IFP members in a particular area wanting assistance in order to protect themselves will eventually assist those people in terms of weapons. Because whatever appeared in the TRC regarding the group that was assisted in terms of weapons is not something that occurred throughout South Africa. But in a particular area, when people are fighting, Xoli, even if it's me and you can run to anyone who can assist you if you see Hlabisa is heavily armed and is being supported with his arms. You can't come to me with your bare hands. You can look whatever direction to get something that can help you to protect yourself and your community. That is a bad history between the ANC and the IFP, which we owe it to correct it.
Well, and perhaps it talks to why, therefore, there has been this decline since 1994 of the IFP electorally, but we're going to then move the conversation forward after the break. You're watching Newsfeed AM. Well, if you're just joining us, you find us right in the middle of a conversation with the IFP leader, Mr. Velenkosini Hlabisa. Hlabisa, before we took a break, we we visited history. And you and I have argued about where the IFP stands historically. I want us to move the conversation forward, but we can only do that if you are able to tell me, or whether you agree with my assessment, that the electoral decline of the IFP since the 1994 breakthrough, as some people term it, is partly because of that association with the apartheid government, those findings of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. How do you propose this chapter be closed for the IFP?
The IFP on its own has to deal with the propaganda, because I want to speak on the propaganda. The propaganda that was spread about the IFP, a bad organization, a part of the apartheid system, is what we constantly have to deal with to people of your age and above you. Because younger people, they don't know. They can go to books, they will read the side of the IFP, and they won't be influenced, because they can only judge the IFP on the basis of what they see today. And the IFP will put into context the violence of the early 90s, that it is something that was unfortunate for the two political parties, the ANC and the IFP, and we owe our country to close that chapter. The leadership of the ANC at a national level, they know they are running away on closing that chapter, on telling the truth to the people of South Africa that indeed it was a propaganda what they said about the IFP and Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. And the violence that followed after that propaganda, we are all guilty, because we participated as the IFP, and the ANC is the one that spread the propaganda. Then come to the decline. Sorry. Yes, if a person spreads a propaganda against you, some people will believe it and eventually do not vote for you as a political party. But lately, as the time goes on, people see the reality. That is why the IFP now, it is the only political party in South Africa that is in an upward trajectory. It's the only one. If you look, if you look at the statistics, if you can go to the results of the elections in 2019, look all political parties, go to 2021, look at all political parties, you will see that the only political party in terms of declining or rising that is on a good standing, it is the IFP.
Well, then let's look at it this way, Mr. Hlabisa. I'm glad you're moving us along, but I guess that chapter can only be closed if, as you claim, that the ANC propagated untruths about the IFP. It's only you and them that can come together and close that chapter effectively. But you are moving us along, and I'm happy about that. 2019 starts a glimmer of hope for the IFP. You grew from a 2.4% to 3.38% in that general election. But that does not suggest that the IFP is growing in leaps and bounds. And part of the problem has to be located within your party. Part of your mission when you were elected in August of 2019 was to say you want to build unity but also grow this party. Let's begin with unity. How much have you gone in uniting the IFP? Because there is the other association of the IFP, which I suppose stems from the 80s, of violence, the culture of violence. Do you think that your party has outgrown that or is gradually?
We are doing very well, Xoli, as the IFP in terms of unity. And also, if you talk in terms of violence, the IFP really is not a violent party, because there is no one with whom we are involved in any clash, as it happened with the ANC. We are on a political debate now with all political parties. ANC, even during by-elections, we compete in a good spirit, which does not eventually lead into a physical action between the two or any other political party. I think on that one, we are progressing well as a country. Because, Xoli, the other thing you must remember, the IFP was not the only party that was involved in violence with the ANC. There was a violence between ANC and PAC, violence between ANC and AZAPO, violence between ANC and IFP. You could see there's one common denominator in all these violent activities between various political parties.
Yeah.
But that is history, which we must close between the IFP and the ANC leaders, especially because those are viable political parties as we speak now. And I want to make even this call now to ANC leaders, because they know they are running away from a negotiated settlement where we will openly declare that we are closing this chapter, and they too confess that yes, indeed, we said what was not true about Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi and the IFP. They are running away. Why, Xoli? They know the people of South Africa would say, how? For so long, believing you, but you told what is not true. The reason why I'm saying here in a national platform is because the ANC knows that they are running away from us to conclude that chapter. And we close a painful history between black people and build a new South Africa for the coming generation.
You have declared that you are going to completely do away with the ANC dominance in KwaZulu-Natal come the 2024 elections. How do you plan to do that?
Xoli, the new leadership that took over the baton in 2019, we committed in, one, expanding the footprint of the IFP. I will come to the question very briefly. Now, COVID-19 became a negative factor because you remember 2020 was like a no year. 2021, we only began after July to work. So now, our plans to expand in all provinces was affected by the lockdown. We are doing our best in Mpumalanga, Gauteng, Limpopo, Northwest, Free State, and Eastern Cape. But on a limited time we have, we are concentrating in KwaZulu-Natal as our power base from which to emerge as a stronger party once again, because immediately after 2024 there is 2026 elections. In KwaZulu-Natal, the plan is working according to our strategy.
What is the strategy?
The strategy only cannot be said because they will take it, the ANC, because they are in a dilemma as to why the IFP is beating us hands down. As you follow the news, Xoli, since 2021, let me start 2021, we took many municipalities from the ANC. We said it before elections that we will win more municipalities, and indeed our strategy yielded the result.
Is it not because of ANC infighting that they are being thrown out of those councils?
No. It is not because of their infighting. You see, during the campaign, you will see them united, ANC like this. We beat them united as they are, as we are campaigning. Yesterday, we were at Mngambi. There were 4 by-elections at Mngambi. The IFP came up back with 3 ones, and they got only 1. But if you go back to 2021, ANC has lost many wards which were strongholds of the ANC, taken over by the IFP, and the writing is on the wall that the dominance of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal is going to be something of the past. And wherever there is an opportunity, people choose the IFP. Why, Xoli? The IFP, whenever is given an opportunity to govern, it is able to deliver, it is able to account, it is able to give feedback where it has challenges. Where there is a problem, we are not afraid to institute consequence management. When a person has done a wrong thing, we are not afraid to take an action against him or her, which is not the case with the ANC.
We can only take you at your word, Mr. Hlabisa, that you are making serious inroads in KwaZulu-Natal. But I think what is probably going to be a good indicator is if you are willing to declare here and now that with your concentration, those are your words, your concentration in KwaZulu-Natal, you think that you can actually win back the province of KZN. Do you think that is possible in this upcoming 2024 election?
The declaration that I want to make to people of KwaZulu-Natal, people of South Africa, is that the IFP presents itself once again to be a government of the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and we will be appealing to every voter in every corner to ensure that people give us a mandate to go back and become a government. You see, Xoli, it will not be a wise thing to say we will win elections, because elections will come. To win election, it is determined by people. The only declaration I can make, the IFP avails itself to be the servants of the people of KwaZulu-Natal, to once again to give them a government that delivers, a government that is able to hold people accountable, and it will be up to them. If they vote us, we will become an effective government. But what we are doing, we are trying our best to reach every voter.
Can I make an assumption why you are unable to make a definitive statement that you are going to win the province of KwaZulu-Natal outright? It's partly because, apart from it being impossible, there is this agreement between yourselves and the Democratic Alliance that you think that you can muscle out everybody else in order for you to have complete control of that province. What is this arrangement you have with the DA?
No, it is not that true. In 2019, the IFP removed the DA from being the official opposition. Now it is the IFP.
Which is why you should be declaring...
No, Xoli. Whatever discussion we have with the DA has nothing to do with the growth of the IFP. I said, just to share with you, Xoli, it was in 2012 where we went to meet Mekar to a drawing board of how to come back to the playing game politically. Because in 2011, the split of the NFP affected the IFP. And then we said, no, let us go to the drawing board, how to come back to the game. It was in 2012. And we said, through this strategy, you will see a change in 2014. You will agree with me, Xoli. In 2014, the IFP did not go down in terms of, but it changed. 2016, it increased growing up. 2019, increased growing up. 2021, 2024. It is going to yield to our strategy. Lastly, we are working for 3 elections in a package. 2024, 2026, and 2029.
All right.
During these 3 elections, you will see the IFP where it's going to be, because we are dealing with the propaganda. We are spreading our wings to all provinces. You will see a difference in 2026 if you go to other provinces. But lastly, in Mpumalanga, the IFP did even better than the EFF in the by-elections a month ago, because we are on the ground again in Mpumalanga. But because of the limited time, we will not spread too much and too wide, because we might spend resources in a way that is not going to be productive. We will try spread our wings because we are a national political party, but we will concentrate more where we want to consolidate our strong base.
All right. When we return, we close the conversation with Mr. Hlabisa, and perhaps one niggling question you might be thinking about. What is the relationship between the IFP and the Ingonyama Trust? That question will come up in a minute. If you're just joining us, we are in conversation with the IFP leader, Mr. Velenkosini Hlabisa. But Hlabisa, we've spoken at length about the growth of the IFP. Yes, much of it supported by numbers. But there's something quite strange going on in northern KwaZulu-Natal. For many years, that was the IFP stronghold. But here is the ANC getting a foothold, winning a number of by-elections there. What's going on?
In the north, Xoli, we are driving them away from the north. They are dominant in the south. If you go south coast, Durban, going down, Uku, Sisonke, that is where they are still dominant. In the north, we have chased them because from Utugela River, they will be having how many municipalities? Probably two, which will be Ilembe and Mandeni, and of late Mapumulo,
right,
because of the EFF breaking away. But from then, go down up to the border of Swaziland, the whole of Umkanyagute, because they are in control of Umkanyagute by default at the district. Because in terms of numbers, the IFP is the majority, but now we are locked by the court. The court of law said, don't do anything until I finish your case, which is a disgrace to democracy, Xoli, to have a majority party controlled by the minority party. I'm saying it openly because even ANC knows that Etum Kanyagote, they are there by default, and the court said, don't do anything until I finalize your case. You can then go up the way, Amajuba, Utugela, Umzinyati, we have chased them away. And now we're going to take them out of the KwaZulu-Natal provincial legislature on the basis of the votes people will give us next year.
Well, we can only see that once the electoral outcome in 2024 does get declared. So there is a moonshot pact discussions that you have been involved in. Talk to us about where discussions are in this, because this is now a very, very closed meeting where even a select number of leaders are allowed there. Is that still the case, by the way, that only the leaders and not secretaries of the parties are allowed there?
Let me start by saying, Xoli, the National Convention discussion, which we refer to as the Moonshot Pact, that is how we call it now.
Okay.
We agreed that up until we feel it is the right time to inform the public, let us work on the dynamics, try to engage as many people as possible, so that by the time when we go public, we know what we are talking about, we are speaking in one voice. So I want to respect that one, Xoli, because it would be unfair if I get an opportunity to be here, then I speak on behalf of the National Convention, which initially emanated from the idea of a moonshot pact.
Yeah.
But just to take the people of South Africa into confidence is that political parties who believe that responsibility is on our shoulders, we have started a discussion to prepare for a government that will be able to bring stability post-2024 election. Let me make an example. If Johannesburg was South Africa, we will be a joke in the world, because is a vote of no confidence after the other in a period of 16 months, 4 mayors. It's a joke. Why are we involved in this process? We are preparing for the inevitable. Surely, ANC is not going to get 50%. If you look at their performance, people are protesting all over.
That's been the status quo, Mr. Hlabisa, and I have to agree, or rather disagree here very, very forcefully. Yes. Because that has been the status quo election after election. The ANC has maintained its majority.
Okay.
You sidetracking me, but I'm happy to be sidetracked because here's a question for you.
Yeah.
If the ANC maintains a 50% plus one post-2024, we shouldn't be talking to the IFP anymore, should we?
Xoli, the people of South Africa, I think, have had it enough now. They demonstrated during 2021 local government elections, crime, unemployment, load shedding, inflation. The list is endless, Xoli. You know, I have never seen a country with graduates, medical doctors, sitting at home, unemployed, than South Africa. You see, Xoli, 14 million people do not vote, but are registered voters. And 26 million people, in terms of age, are supposed to be registered voters. We are going to be running on a daily basis, talking to the 14 million who are registered, that, hey, look, if you do not vote because you say the government is not doing anything for you, it will stay in power forever. To remove them, go and use the power in your hand and vote against them. You will see a difference next year, Xoli.
I have less than a minute, Mr. Hlabisa. I promised the viewers for you to take them into confidence about what is the connection between the IFP and you saying that you are going to defend the Ingonyama Trust. The Ingonyama Trust, as they understand it, would be something that the royal house of the Zulu nation should be concerned with, not a political party.
The IFP will have a concern on Ingonyama Trust because the act which protected land under Ingonyama Trust was championed by the founder of the IFP. It is a legacy to the IFP that a government can be able to protect land and give it to people. We will not allow a situation that would want to come and rob our people the only piece of land that is at the disposal of the black people. We want more land. That is why we want to defend it, because more land must come under the control of people. The land in the hands of the government as we speak today, the land of the private people who are not using it, and the land which the government must enter into negotiations to buy it and give it to our people.
So in short, you are just as concerned, much like the founder of your party, you're just as concerned about how the king, the reigning king of the Zulu nation, is dealing with the matter of the Ingonyama Trust.
No, I don't want to get to matters that involves the king. I would want to respect that one. All I think we can confine our discussion as the IFP, we will support even the king to ensure that the land under Ingonyama Trust is not interfered with by the government or by anyone. So now we do not stand against the king on that one.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
No, it is always a pleasure, Xoli. I will always welcome the opportunity to come and share views with the people.
Time is against us. I could have asked you lots more questions, but thank you for granting us your time here. That's Velenkosini Hlabisa, leader of the Inkatha Freedom Party.